Three, two, one. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34, and today we have a very special guest. Mr. David Zhou is in the building. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
Thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for making time. I know time is precious, and for the folks out there who don't know, you're international now. So thanks for helping work this all out, and appreciate your time and openness to share your story. For the folks out there who don't know, I met Mr. Zhou at Burton High School. We crossed paths, and I'm here to help share his story. And so for those who don't know the flow of the show, we do some warm-up questions, some intro questions just to set the tone, and then after that we'll jump into the main portion where Mr. Zhou either chooses his own destiny or turns to the wheel of fate, and then after that we'll do some closeout questions. And sorry if I keep referring you to your last name, I just can't help it. That's how we're introduced.
Yeah, it's a habit from the past,
dude, for sure. I got respecting teachers, respecting elders. I'm not saying that, but just showing that respect. But yeah, man. Well, my very first question for you is, how have you been? Been about 3, 4, 5 years since we seen each other last.
Yeah.
How you been, man?
I've been doing good after the whole thing with Burton too. I went to do restaurant.
Word.
So
okay.
It was pretty cool. I always wanted to explore different careers, I guess, because I had the chance to after leaving. You don't have to jump into teaching so quickly. So I took a break from that, and then opportunity presented itself. So I came to Japan. Yeah.
Did you
to teach here?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that. That's what's up. Do you feel like that's a permanent move, or just for the time being? How's it feeling for you?
I don't think it's a permanent move. I think it's just for experience, because when I was working in the restaurant, I met so many different people with so many different backgrounds. And even working at Burton, you have all these kids from so many different backgrounds, and a lot of them are international, immigrants. When I was working at the restaurant, people came from overseas to work here. And so, growing up in San Francisco your whole life, I wanted that international experience to live overseas, in an unfamiliar place. And I've always wanted to live in Japan ever since college. So I wanted to do it before I had any regrets later in life.
For sure, man. I totally respect that. I wish I could have done something like that. Moving there, was that your first time ever being in Japan, or you had gone there previously?
I've came to Japan twice for vacation.
Okay.
So it's a little familiar. And then in college, I took some basic Japanese language classes. So that really helps.
I got you.
I was a little prepped. And then I had some friends who came here already from high school, and then they're permanents here. So I always ask them for advice.
That's cool.
When I first moved here, yeah.
Yeah, at least you got, some people over there, so it doesn't feel too lonely. I know how that can be sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Want to ask you, how is the education system different from what you've experienced here versus over there, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, no, don't worry. Yeah, so it's very textbook heavy. Everything that students learn is directly connected to the textbook. And you know how in American education, it was like that.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to get out of textbook, trying to tie in, real life examples and everything. So, but in Japan, it's still a little slow in trying to open up from the textbook. So yeah, it makes teaching really easy for the teachers, I would say, because you just have to direct everything to the textbook. But for me, coming from the States, it can get a little boring. But the students don't mind, because they like everything direct, and they're used to it. So it's their education system.
Yeah, no, I got you. I mean, I was gonna say, you said you grew up in San Francisco as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, when I was growing up, similar thing. It was all textbook. And
Yeah.
I had one class that was like a current events class, international relations class. That was the only class that was kind of like, you know, checking the news and trying to teach us through like world events and stuff. But yeah, so that's interesting that you say that, because I think I have noticed a little bit of that switch or openness. In the American school system to like, you know what, maybe we should. Because I feel like textbooks always get updated and always change and stuff, and I don't know if that's from like through the governments. Yeah, I don't know if you know if governments provide textbooks, and that's the whole idea is like they'll give grants to people to put the information in a book. In Japan, is it the same way? Or
I think the government also gives funds to update textbooks through a company. But all the textbooks I think would be like free for the students too. Some positive points though is like I teach middle school, but when compared to America, it will be 7, 8, 9. That's middle school.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So elementary is 1st through 6. So they have that for elementary, and then 3 years of middle school, 3 years of high school. Yeah,
I gotcha.
So the cool thing about middle school is I only teach middle school. They require mandatory music class, art class, and the arts.
Okay.
So everyone gets a chance to learn music. Everyone gets a chance to learn art. Where, you know, in America, it's an elective class. Yeah. So one thing about Japan that's really cool is this aspect. And then also PE, they actually learn a little bit of every sport.
I got you.
Like the rule, like the rules, basic forms. So they do anywhere from the simple common ones like basketball, baseball, soccer, volleyball. But sometimes they dip into badminton. They have gymnastics.
That's dope. Yeah.
Yeah, they have,
for PE.
Yeah. They bring out the mats. They bring out the jump boards, and then they do long jump. They practice relay racing. So like the PE here is actually very cool because you get to try out so many different sports. You know.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I would want to like dive more into it, but let's progress through the warm up. So
yeah, for sure.
Some warm up questions for you. My first one is, what would you like the audience to know about you?
It's tough. I watched your previous video with the previous guest, the one that you just released. Do you remember the name? If not, it's cool. She's living in Washington.
Yes, Rachel Shear.
Yes. And when she was describing herself, I was like, I'm a little similar to Rachel. Like, I feel like I'm empathetic too. I try to walk in other people's shoes. So I try to be empathetic and understanding. But I come to realize is that even though you are empathetic, you won't really understand the deeper feelings of what that person felt in their experience. So I'm thinking I can only mimic it to feel how they feel, but to truly understand, you'll have to experience it yourself.
I gotcha.
I feel like that's the type of person I kind of want to strive to be, is to be an understanding person. Yeah.
You know what, man? This is something that recently crossed my mind because I hear this phrase a lot, and I think it's it's that phrase that like those who can't do teach. You know, I'm sure you heard that before, right?
Yeah.
I want to switch that up, man, because I really think it's those who understand teach, bro. Like, you know, I think it takes a lot to, especially if you want to make an impact on students and, you know, really leave them with like a lasting lesson or message that affects them for their whole life. You have to understand, and you have to be willing to understand and, you know, kind of meet students where they're at. I recently I started a job with this school. I think maybe you might have heard it with Rachel's interview, but yeah, just started a job at this NPS. I don't know if you're familiar with Edgewood. It's a school in San Francisco, but it's, you know, it's for the kids who are a little bit rough around the edges. And you know, even in Burton or here at the school I'm at now, that's what I see the teachers constantly trying to do, right? It's like, you know, whatever angle the kid comes at you is like, okay, well, you know, what's your thought process? Like, what's the best way for me to give you this information that you're gonna retain it or find it valuable? It's a whole lot of that, and you're doing that with, like, I think the great teachers are doing it individually, like, and that's really hard, right? You need to.
Yeah, it's so tough.
Yeah, man.
Like
Go ahead.
When I was working at Burton, you know, because I come from a certain demographic, I can easily connect to the students that have similar demographic. But with those students that I don't, their backgrounds I don't really understand, it was hard to connect with them. And I had a lot of trouble in Burton connecting to those students. And sometimes there are some of the students that need the most help. So I figure the only thing I can really do is try to connect them to other resources that can provide help. But it's tough.
Yeah, man. And I mean, where was Burton in your, like, you know, your journey as a teacher? Was that in the beginning or like sort of in the middle? Like, was that your first job, or like, I mean, not first job, but first teaching job?
Yeah, first real teaching job would be at Burton. I would consider Burton. I don't think student teaching would be full-time teaching. You know, it's a little dip in the pond. But Burton was my first job, and I really got it spur of the moment. I literally got it 2 weeks before school started. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know. Like, I was just searching it up, like, in the middle of July, you know, SFUSD. And then I got the job, I got the interview, and then I got the job, and I was like, cool. But then, like, Burton was like one of, you know, quote unquote, the tougher schools. So they really threw me into the fire.
Yeah, man. And you were saying you had a hard time connecting with the students that, but also, you know, that was your first experience doing that. I feel like if you're ever put in that same situation, you'd probably do better, I think.
I hope so. Thank you for your support.
Yeah, man. I think, you know, that our biggest struggles are because of stuff that we're doing for the first time or we've never encountered before, right? And the things that we're really good at are things that we just seem to, you know, continually, like, encounter or get more practice on, and that makes us really good at that particular thing. But yeah. All right, second question for you in the warm-up is, if someone were to pay you a tribute, how would you like to be honored? So if I was going to tell myself I would do something, an act for Mr. Zhou, what could I do for you, man?
Throw me a party.
Throw you a party? All right.
Yeah. I think, like, just get my friends, just good food, good company, good atmosphere. It could be anywhere. It could be at, like, an all-you-can-eat restaurant. But just throw me a party. I'll be happy.
Yeah, any favorite all-you-can-eat spots that you would throw out there?
Back in San Francisco,
very few out here. Very few. I mean, in my experience,
really?
I only know I only know what Moonstar is one.
Oh my goodness! Do you not know the Korean all-you-can-eat barbecues in San Francisco?
Okay, so you got to tell me. Put me on, because I don't know, man. I go to San Jose for Korean barbecue, man.
Oh, that's true. No. The food outside for all you can eat in San Francisco is better. I think, like, it's cheaper and the quality is a little better, only because I guess the expenses are a little cheaper out there. But yakiniku in Japantown is a very common one that people go to. Okay. It's consistent. It gets very busy. And then BQ, also in Japantown, I like their service there. It's really chill, relaxing. It's not as busy, but the food's still good. The drinks are still good. Yeah, those two are my go-to ones in San Francisco.
Well, thanks for your tips. I'm gonna have to check that out. And at your party, what kind of music we playing? Well, what's, like, you know, maybe the jam? Like, you know, you're gonna tell me we're celebrating you. What song would celebrate your energy?
Throw on K-pop.
Throw on K-pop. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Any particular band, you know?
Any is fine.
Any?
They have so many different artists. So throw on any. They're all good.
Can you recommend me, like, I know it's a lot of pressure, but
Oh no.
what one that I should check out? You could give me.
What kind of music do you like?
So I'm a big hip hop head. But you know, I also like, you know, the classic rock, and you know, of course I'm gonna like the 90s pop with stuff I grew up with, and you know, very whatever sounds good to me, I'm gonna enjoy. But I know,
nice.
I don't know if it was J-pop or K-pop that had like some influences of like that R&B hip hop kind of, you know, sound. I don't know if you've heard anything. Maybe I'm just, you know, speaking out my ass, but you could let me know.
No, I think J-pop has R&B. It's not as popular though, I would say, as K-pop R&B. One that stands out on the top of my head recently, because he was on the news, is Ravi, R-A-V-I.
Okay. Ravi.
He's he's a hip hop artist, and he has his own company. And then he just signed one of my favorite singers. So I was like, wow, that's so cool.
Making moves. Yeah.
Right. He's making moves.
I'll check him out. Ravi, R-A-V-I. I'll check that out. And my last question for you in the warm up is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
Wow. I wish I could say 10.
I got you.
But honestly, I think I would have to say like a 7.
Okay.
Only because, like, sure, you know yourself, and you know, in the past Corona, you because you don't go out a lot, I think a lot of just everything and myself. You know, a lot of self-reflection. But I feel like, sure, you know yourself, but sometimes the people around you know a little bit more about yourself and your behavior and your personality.
I got you.
Especially, I would say the negatives. Yeah.
Really? You think the outside people would know more of your negatives than you would yourself?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I think it would be like, if you're self-critical, you would realize it after they tell you. Yeah.
It's like one of those breaking the glass moments or whatever. Where,
yeah.
I got you. Well, in a more positive tone, what would you say is your favorite thing about your personality?
I'm adaptable. So coming out here to Japan, it was scary, but I adapted quickly. I think it took me about 2 months to relax. 1 month, I'm still like trying to find how to get to places, what's the best route. But after 2 months, pretty easy. Yeah, got used to it.
I mean, it took me 6 months to finally kind of settle in when I moved from San Francisco to Long Beach. I know it's not that crazy of a move, but yeah, I remember like just feeling out of like a fish out of water or out of place. First moving and not really knowing a lot of folks down in SoCal at the time too. I mean, for you, did that feeling also kind of subside after a couple months, or did that feeling kind of take a little bit longer to get rid of?
I think I was able to, I guess, withstand it was because I kept myself busy with work.
Gotcha.
You know, just try to put myself into a rhythm. And because I'm a gamer, you know, on my off days, I get to game with people back at home. So I didn't really lose my sense of self. So that helped a lot.
For sure, man. I definitely did not know you were a gamer. What kind of games you like playing?
Gosh, the one game we spend the most time on is League of Legends. Okay.
Ever competitively or just casual?
No, casual. I don't think my skills are good enough for competitive, nor the ping here from Japan is good.
I got you. You'd always be playing from behind kind of thing. But,
yep. For sure.
And since you brought it up, I do want to ask, and feel free if you don't want to answer this, but when was like that last time the glass was broken for you? If someone either told you, I mean, for me personally, it was there was a thing where my coworkers we were like, oh, let's do impersonations of each other. And yeah, somebody like, oh, this is what Jan's like, and it would be like they would say a couple words and laugh after every like it would be like, hey, what's up guys? And then like, you know, it's just stuff like that. And for me, I had never realized that I laugh after every like sentence or whatever. But yeah, that was definitely like, oh shit, that's what I do. And everybody's like, oh, that's so him. And I'm like, like, damn, I had no idea that that's how I came off. But yeah, for you, anything like that?
I would say it would have to be a while, only because like, you know, having those deep talks is hard online, especially just through like messages.
Yeah.
But there was one where I think my friend helped me realize I sometimes do take things a little too personally. Like, because messages get lost in meaning. It depends on how the reader and writer interprets it. So as a reader, I sometimes take the messages too personal, even though maybe the writer didn't mean it that way. But like, you know, the way the sentence is phrased, it kind of irks me. So I get a little angry. And then if it keeps going, I get a little more angry, you know, it just builds.
Man, I'm glad we didn't do too many messages. I'm that kind of person. I'm the kind of person who tries to like, I like keep my messages as straight to the point as possible. Like I don't put any fluff. So it may come off as like, you know, I don't want to talk, but I'm just like, well, I just don't want to type too much, you know, like why build around it. But yeah, so I hope you never got that kind of feeling from me.
Never. No.
For sure. All right, man. Well, we made it to the main portion of the interview. Would you like to, you know, choose your destiny or turn to the Wheel of Fate?
The Wheel of Fate. I don't like choosing numbers.
All right, man. Well, here we go. Here goes your first spin. And just a reminder, there are 3 levels, so you could go easy, medium, hard, and you free flow through it all. But your first number is 25.
Let's go with a medium.
Medium 25. And your question is, what does it mean to have a healthy perspective?
A healthy perspective.
Yeah.
I think it means to have an open perspective, willing to have an open discussion, to take in other people's opinions and respect it. And not to judge people if their opinions are different. Albeit that's really hard to do now because it's so polarized.
Yeah, tell me more. Why do you think it's so polarizing these days?
Like, you know, with the whole vaccination thing.
Tell me more.
Right. Like, sure, at the beginning of the vaccination process, everyone had I would say the right to be scared because the medicine was so new and they were still going through the trial phases. But after studies have shown that vaccines are by a very high percentage safe and not deadly, you know, like, oh, it make you autistic, or there's GPS trackers inside of it.
I don't really believe that one. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like, because of that, it's like when people bring that opinion to you, it's like, you know, I say don't judge them, but then it's like, it's really hard not to, you know.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm vaccinated, but I will say I do have a concern about like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you know, something comes up where like, and maybe that's the fear I got about it, and that's how I could kind of like, you know, not for me to understand the other side, you know. And yeah, that's the trippy part about it, because it's one of those things, and I don't know if this is happening in Japan, and you've only been there like a year and a half or so, but in America, that's what that's what they're using at this moment to divide us, right? To be like, well, just create this conflict so the other stuff we're not paying attention to. That's what I think is happening. And yeah, man, I mean, like, you know, jobs requiring people to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I don't think I have a strong opinion either way right now about it. I do believe in personal choice, and but you know, I also believe in safety. So I'm where do I fall, like, in here in this in this decision? But how would you say you feel about it, if you don't mind sharing? Jobs specifically, like, you know, forcing employees to get vaccinated.
I think I agree with the choice, because I was talking to this one teacher too. I was just asking around, like, did you get vaccinated? And she's like, oh no. And I'm like, oh, why not? And she's like, oh, it's a personal choice. And I'm like, for sure, I respect it. I just moved on from it. I think my gripe about it is just the spread of bad science.
Okay.
You know, like I agree with you where, like, hey, maybe, you know, 5 years from now the vaccine might have trouble. Only because, you know, we can't predict that far into the future.
Yeah.
You know, but you outweighed the negatives and positives, and then you got the vaccine, you know. So I can see where the fear comes from, because it's unknown, and it makes sense. We are, you know, humans are scared of unknowns. But to fill the unknown with bad science, I would say, is my gripe.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, you know, and when it comes to just like social media, it's usually the loudest voices get heard.
Yeah. And
we're definitely hearing a lot of things that, you know, that's my gripe with news. You know, it's like it's really hard for me to trust, you know, whatever information is being thrown at me these days. And it's a little bit of a headache too, because it's like, okay, I hear that, but then next week there's something different. We won't get too political, because I'm sure everyone is aware of the things that have been said and the flip-flopping of stances. So yeah. On that note, we'll move on to the next spin.
Sure.
But I did want to ask you, like, this is going to be a question before this number, but what inspired you to get into teaching?
Oh, it's tough. I think I kind of defaulted into it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't mind, like, elaborating on that.
For sure. I think when I got into college, there were like 3 things I wanted to do. One was like a researcher, marine biologist specifically, because I always had an affinity with marine bio. And then the second was like a chef. But then my mom was like, no, you're not being a chef. You're not going to slave over a stove. Because she has this stereotype of like Chinese chefs working at restaurants that don't get really good pay for their hard work. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I respect it. So I won't do that. And then I can always cook at home, you know? So that wasn't too bad. And then teacher, I think I defaulted into because it felt natural.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I was asking because honestly, for me, it's been this voice that's been getting louder for me, and just being like, yo, you should go back to school and you know, be like, teach kids. So now I've just been thinking about it, and I think I'm getting closer to that point where I'm gonna sign up for the FAFSA and do all that stuff to get my degree and see how it works out. But
I mean, if teaching isn't your thing, I think you could definitely look into counseling too.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Because someone has had like put that idea in my head as well. Like they mentioned, like, you know, maybe because I could see how I couldn't be a good teacher and might be a better counselor. But yeah, I have to look into that. Thank you for sharing.
You have to find a subject you like.
Yeah. I mean, I keep thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go in there and just like create my own subject, and then like do it that way. But
electives.
Nice. Electives. Yes, electives. I mean, I'm working with kids now, and I kind of want to create like a podcasting class, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially when you know. Okay.
Technology, streaming.
Yeah. I mean, they're big on streaming. They all want to be YouTube stars. So yeah,
they're not all going to make it.
no, but
it would be a fun hobby for them. It would be a great way to express themselves.
And I think that's the most important part, right? Is having that outlet, especially for a lot of us who don't feel like we're being heard, right? Having a show or podcast stream, whatever it is, it gives you that opportunity that someone's gonna listen, someone's gonna hear, and you never know what can happen. I don't know if you noticed, but the wheel of fate gave you number
that's right.
Gave you number 16 for this next question. But what level would you like to be at?
Let's stick with medium.
16 medium. This one is, what was one of the most pivotal points in your life?
Oh, I think one of the most pivotal would be, and yeah, the end of college, or in the middle of college. I remember there was this one time, because you know how college is really hard to get into classes. So many people.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like sometimes you gotta just pick whatever available and hope that that fits your course. But yeah.
So I was trying to get like the prereq biology class so I can start taking the higher upper classes, and I almost couldn't get in. And that would have delayed my graduation like a whole year.
Okay, that's a long time.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's how impacted colleges were. You know the experience.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was almost going to major in Japanese.
Wow. Okay.
And that would have stretched my career in a whole different direction if that happened. So I think that was a pivotal moment in my life, I would say, where literally. You were able to sign up? Yeah, I got it. Because I signed up for the Japanese class, and I was on the waiting list for the biology class. And then I was on the waiting list, and then luckily I got in. So I told the Japanese teacher, like, oh, I got into my bio class, so I can't take this class. So sorry. And then bam, I stuck to bio. Yeah.
Now how do you see your life being different if you had taken Japanese that year instead of getting into the bio class?
It would have been totally different. I think I wouldn't have gone into teaching. And even if I did, I mean, it would be a foreign language, but as a non-native Japanese speaker, I would have had to get higher level tests and to prove you can speak at a native level. I think I would have moved to Japan much earlier, and maybe try to join a school as a full-time teacher, because right now I'm contracted to schools.
Okay.
Through a company, but I think if that was the case, I would have been like teaching English as a permanent teacher instead of a part-time contracted teacher. But I would have missed out on like all the different teaching styles from America. So I would have missed a lot of teaching strategies.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned teaching strategies, and I didn't know there was like a whole strategic part of it. But what kind of styles did you feel like you kind of experienced?
I think non-textbook based styles, especially because I taught health education. There isn't a textbook for that class. There's a lot of pamphlets, a lot of open resources. I think SFUSD is coming out with like slides that you can use if they haven't already, for teachers to teach on a similar education style. But like just the open perspectives of things from just around you. I think that's the thing you learn how to do in America, especially in like California and in San Francisco, is learning how to tie lessons to current events.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you had to create your own, like, basically your whole own lesson plan for health ed. Like,
luckily I had some help from my cohort. You remember how like there's meetings between your cohort members, and
yeah.
The cohort members were really cool. I had a lot of guidance from them. But the thing was, I was myself lacking in experience in teaching that subject, and it was hard to teach from different perspectives. You know, because everyone has a different view of drugs and sex and alcohol and everything.
Yeah.
And I only come from one perspective. So it was hard to teach kids different perspectives.
Yeah, I've honestly, if I was ever put in that situation, I guess my main focus would be trying to get as many guest speakers as I could to come in.
For sure.
You know,
for sure. I also think SFUSD made it really hard to get guest speakers.
Really? That's interesting.
If you go through it properly, you have to like vet them through the system or whatnot.
Oh.
Or, like, you have to, yeah. But you know, sometimes things are left unspoken.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know, they were just visiting. You know, they were visiting.
Yeah.
I got you. Well, let me ask you, what's been like the greatest joy you've gotten out of teaching?
I think it's the connection you make with the students and the kids. Like at Burton, I somehow had a makeshift gathering at lunchtime. I think like during lunchtime, like teachers like to take a break, but I think it really right.
Yeah.
But I think it really speaks to how good the teacher, or how friendly, not say how good, how friendly the teacher is and connected to the students are, if students go to your classroom to look for you, to hang out or to talk. Yeah,
just come, like, to get to know you as a person, where you're not like necessarily doing your job at that time.
Or just to provide a safe spot for them to hang out during lunchtime. Yeah,
because in high school we all trying to figure out where we belong, right? So
yeah, that's right.
So to choose a teacher's classroom, that just makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel like, you know, this is where I should be chilling. And then you have the friends or other students that come into your classroom, they connect because that's where they're spending their time. Yeah, man, I hear you. I didn't spend too many times like growing up and, you know, just in high school. I didn't spend time in teachers' classrooms, but I always would stop by after school just to ask them a question. And it would always be like some, like, I think this is just part of my personality and why I'm doing an interview show now. But yeah, just picking their brain about like whatever is going on. Very interesting experience, man. You know, you were a teacher, and I feel like you might have crossed paths with a lot of my teachers, you know, and maybe even your own. Like, what you mind me asking, what high school you attended out here?
Oh yeah, I went to Galileo.
For sure. Yeah. Did you ever like cross paths with an old teacher and you're like, hey man, I'm teaching now too? Or, nah.
Well, there was this one teacher. He's really good with his students and he really connects with them. His name is Roman, and we kept in touch even after high school. And then I helped him decorate his house for Christmas, take down the decorations, only because like he's a friend now, you know. Like when you graduate, sure, he's your teacher, but now he's also like your friend too, you know? Yeah. That's dope, man. I mean, I'd hope that like all the students I've ever worked with can feel that same way about me. I mean, I know for me, there's just some teachers that will always just have like, I feel like this next level up above me. Like I'm never gonna be up there with them. But I have grabbed beers with former teachers, and you know, just talking about adult stuff, and you know, they're catching up with us. But yeah, very important connections, man. Because I don't know if it's the same for you, but I remember a lot of my teachers.
I remember them, you know, as people and stuff. And maybe I'll forget some of my classmates depending on how big my school was. But yeah, my teachers I pretty much can remember. And there's gonna be a few out there that's gonna remember you, you know. So maybe,
I hope so.
Maybe they're gonna want to be gaming with you. Honestly, like that's probably something, right?
Yeah.
But all right, let's give it another spin, man. Here we go.
Okay.
Nice.
Ooh, 34.
34. I gotta come up with like a bonus or something for when people land on this. But what level would you like to be at?
Let's go down to an easy.
An easy 34. This one is, how alive is your inner child?
I think because I game a lot, it's definitely alive.
For sure.
You know, you get angry at people playing games, you know, you have your tantrums. Yeah, I still have that.
Oh yeah, you ever rage? Yeah. You still rage quit sometimes?
I don't rage quit. I rage, but I don't. Once in a while, I do rage quit. Yes.
It depends on how bad it is. I feel you on that.
Yes. So my inner child is still there. But also I think you know, just yeah. Like just looking at things, you know, still being amazed by them, by the little things. I guess that comes back with age too. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, appreciating nature, you know?
That's
like, I find myself looking up at the clouds. Like the clouds here in Japan are for some reason really beautiful.
They look different.
It seems like they look different. You know how you look into like an anime movie from Japan? Like it literally sometimes looks like that. You know?
Maybe that's the inspiration, man. I haven't been to Japan, so I wouldn't know. You know, for me, you know, I guess maybe every country has their own like kind of flavor or uniqueness.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
have you traveled a lot?
Sure.
Or
no, I haven't. Like one goal was to travel around Asia from Japan because it's so cheap. Just waiting for the world to open up.
Dude, yeah, I don't know honestly what the timeline looks for that. I feel like it's gonna be summer okay, winter not so good, and then it's gonna be going back and forth a little bit. Especially after this past year when we thought
it looked good.
It looked good.
You know?
It looked good.
And then bam, hey Delta.
Yeah, man. So right before Corona, I had made plans to go to Hawaii. Like that April of 2020. 2020. Goddamn. But yeah, and then I pushed it back till this September. This September I was supposed to go, but then recently the governor of Hawaii was like, "We're shutting down. Don't come here." So I gotta like postpone it, and now I don't know when. But I feel like I've been planning this vacation for years. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, it'll get there when it gets there. But that's for. I know I'm not the only one either. I'm sure there's people out there getting super frustrated too. But yeah,
I didn't know Hawaii closed.
It just got announced like 2-3 days ago or 4 days ago.
I see.
And it's one of those things where like we're going essential only. But as a tourist, that really dampens all your plans. Like, I want to eat, but I can only eat to go. Like, yeah. So, but I could see it as like, at least for me, I was gonna go with my parents, and I would want to. Lovely. What's that?
That would have been lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it's way more important for my folks because they hardly go on vacations. So yeah, and we'll get there. Just I'm not tripping off it too much. But earlier you had talked about healthy perspective, and you know, being open to other people's views and opinions. Do you feel like you were always like that, or was that something you had to kind of realize and, you know, grow from?
I think definitely develop over time and grow out of. I don't know when, you know, there's a turning point. I think it was a gradual growth over the years, especially in my 20s, I guess. Like early college, like early 20s, you don't know squat.
Oh yeah. We think we know. We think we know once we're out of high school.
Yeah. But I guess it wasn't until like mid-20s till now where you start to develop an open perspective by talking to different people and learning from different people and learning their perspectives.
No, for sure.
Like I mentioned earlier, like when teaching health ed, I only was able to teach from my perspective about sex and drugs. I couldn't really talk about the real world and the other views that it included, where like people do take recreational drugs, people do illegal drugs, you know, especially at raves and stuff. You know, like what's the fine line? Like everyone has a different opinion. I couldn't really teach that, but it wasn't until, you know, I talked to other people and they opened up about their perspectives about sex and drugs, and I realized, oh, I could have taught this in the classroom, you know.
Is you mind sharing anything you like that made you think that? Like was something that, you know, you were like, damn, I should have said that in the classroom?
I think sex was a big topic that it was kind of hard to teach, because like sexual relations is important in a relationship. However, everyone has a different view of how often sex should happen. You know, the sexual desire of everyone is different. And then it's important for it to match. And then some people are in like, they're okay with, you know, one night stands, you know, but some people are not okay. But what I learned is that you can't judge other people's sexual activity according to your own.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely something, like, growing up, if no one's ever talked to you, because health ed might be the first time kids are like actually having a conversation about sex with an adult, right? I feel a lot of parents are avoiding that for the longest time possible. I don't know for you. I know my parents didn't address it with me.
my parents never talked to me about relationships and especially sex. I come from a Chinese immigrant family who has their own perspective of relationships, because they come from an older generation, whereas, you know, the new modern style relationships are totally different. They think it's easy, you know, you just go out there and meet someone and then you just stay together and then you can get married. But it's like, no, there's so much that can happen between meeting and marriage, you know. But to them it's really simple.
And after marriage too. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like for you, maybe that older generation, but my parents always emphasized to me how much hard work it is to keep a relationship going and to, like, you know, make sure that bond is strong. But I do feel like, especially when you're young, you just think you're gonna find someone and it's gonna just match perfectly and you know, happy.
It's
happy
so innocent. It's so good though. It's like when they have that perspective, because like it's just really innocent.
It's hopeful, very hopeful. And yeah, man, I mean, I think, like, you know, I like to remain hopeful as well and be like, you know, maybe, you know, but I do have that, I guess, the perspective now of getting older is like, there are stuff that you got to work on. And I think that's what makes a good relationship last, is that, you know, the people constantly like are looking forward to growing with the other person, no matter like what differences might pop up, you know.
I think one point I try to get the students to understand is if you look at it from a mathematical perspective, there's always a net growth in the relationship. There's always growth in the relationship. You know, the graph might go up this way, tilt down, but it goes up again and then tilts down. But in general, it should always be trending upwards. Because if it's not trending upwards, there's something wrong with the relationship.
I got you.
Because it's, I think to put it into their perspective where they understand, I think that I should emphasize a little more. Because relationships can be stagnant. It's fine, you know, it can be flatline. But there should always be some sort of growth in the relationship, in my opinion.
I gotcha.
Positive growth.
For sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, anybody listening, and you got your free lesson from Mr. Zhou here. Just heads up, we have about 10 minutes left in the podcast. Wanted to thank you
fast.
again. Yeah, man. I mean, hopefully someday we could do a part 2.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've never played League of Legends, but you know, maybe I'll join your team and you could carry me. just don't get mad at me.
Be hours of raging, but fun. Fun.
Yeah, I gotcha. But yeah, man. Well, we made it to the final stretch of the podcast, and before we get to the questions, I do want to work out this mantra with you called the 34th mantra, and I have these phrases that I'd like you to fill in. They are: I am, I can, I will. So I am blank, I can blank, I will blank. How would you fill that in for yourself?
I think for I am, I would say I am open. I think I want to be that person that listens and able to give sound advice if I can. You know, I always wanted to strive to be like the guy with all the wisdom, but then I realized, you know, I'm never gonna get there, only because like I'm still young, I'm still learning, but just providing a listening ear is enough at the moment. So I am open.
That was pretty wise of you, man. to understand that, you know, it takes a lot to gain that wisdom. But yeah, man, I mean, thinking of wisdom, it's like, I think people have kind of like gave me that feeling, which I dislike, because it's really hard for me to feel like, you know, there's something that I'm better at than other people. So it's like, nah, like, yeah, I'm not sure. It makes me feel kind of icky and uncomfortable, but
yeah. There was this one thing that was vibing with the kids. It was stay humble, and then it just disappeared again. Remember that time?
Oh yeah.
Like the phrase of the year or the month was like stay humble, and then it just disappeared.
Yeah, I think there's still that niche. There's still that niche group of kids who are into it. But no, you're right. It was kind of like the almost like keep calm. Keep calm was one of those phrases that was out there.
Yeah, keep calm too. Yeah, that was good.
I don't know who like what powers that be like gives that boost to whatever phrase that needs to be like out there, you know? It's like all of a sudden you just see it everywhere on everything. It's like
this would be a good social media lesson in one of your classes.
Yeah. But I need to do my research, and I need to figure out the cause. So I have some information to give. Right now it's all like, oh, this is what I think. I can't really educate people on thoughts, right? But all right, so that's I am open. Second one is I can.
I can do better. I think like there's always something to improve. I know myself, I guess, a little well enough where I know I'm not always giving things 100% in what I do. Whether it's just being lazy or procrastinating or both. I know I can do better, but it's just like the habit that people develop. But I know I can do better. Yeah.
I hear you, man. I mean, I'm very lazy and procrastinate a ton too. And I justify it to myself by saying life is all about balance. You know, there's going to be times when you give yourself like 150%. And then so there's going to be times where you're just going things at 50%. So
yeah, that's why, like, you know, you're inspired by those who always give it like close to 100% on many days. Not all days, but many days.
That reminds me of I don't know if you know this guy. I think his name is David Goggins. I could be getting that name wrong, but it's that like crazy U.S. Navy SEAL dude that like trains crazy every day, and he's always like, if you're not working hard all the time, then what are you doing? You're not living life. And I'm like, bro, I can't be like that.
It's a different perspective in life, you know?
Yeah, I can't imagine what he's gone through to just feel
Same,
like
for sure,
be
for sure.
on all the time. But I got you. And the last one is I will blank.
For this one, I think it's like a personal mantra of mine is I will try to do my best so there won't be any regrets.
Yeah, that's you didn't get to this question, but let me just sneak it in there.
Yeah.
But what emotion would you get rid of if you could get rid of one? Because for me, it was regret. Maybe it's because I've had a lot of them, so that's the one that keeps popping up. But yeah, man, for me it'd be regret. But what about for yourself?
I think I'd agree with you. Only because it's like, you know, the could've, would've, should've. Right? Like, I could have done this and it could have been a different outcome, and it may have been a bit better outcome. So I think I would agree with you. Like this is one reason why I came to Japan, is because I didn't want to regret it in the future if I never did it, you know. And this was a good time to do it. So, but like the past experience regrets, it's like, oof.
Yeah. I mean, I do think we will, like, hopefully we all get to a point where everything makes sense, right? Like all the choices and that feeling of no regrets actually like comes and like, damn, you know, there are really no regrets because everything that was supposed to happen happened, and now I'm at where I want to be. I'm still waiting for that moment, but
same. It's gonna be a long journey, man.
Yes, and you know, just belief and hope that everything you're doing is right for you. For sure, man. And now, if you ever need a reminder, you do have this recording in your voice to remind you what you are, what you can do, and what you will do.
Just put subtitles so I don't have to listen to myself.
I got you.
I'm just kidding.
I'll do that.
No, I'm just kidding, man. It's all good. But like, you know, when you first hear your own voice, it's like, do I sound like that?
Yeah, man.
And I'm sure you have to do it too a lot now because you're recording.
Yeah, no, I do it a lot, and honestly, it's been crazy because I had that feeling, and because I've done it so much, it's pretty much like I don't hear it. I do cringe when I hear like my fillers, like the ums and that, and I know I do it, and I'm still working on it, but that's definitely the moments where I'm like, ooh, I wish I could clean that up a little bit better. But
really
comes with experience, right? Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if you knew this, but before the podcast, my first dream was to be a rapper, so I had to get over the voice recording and like just hearing myself. And man, if you heard how I sounded like in my rap songs, it was very. I thought my voice was too low, so I tried to like bring it up a little bit higher. Yeah. When I was like, I think because the feedback I got from a lot of folks back then was like, oh, you're too monotonous, or you're too like, you know, it sounds, you know, whatever, blah. And I was just like, okay, well, let me raise it up a little bit, you know, and like sound like I'm kind of singing and all that stuff. But if I was talking about regrets, if I could go back, I would just embrace my voice and be like, well, this is my style, and not even worry about what people are saying. So yeah, a lot of experience hearing my voice. But
nice.
Here we go, man. My next question is a question from my previous guest. Want to shout out to Evan for his question, and his question for you is: challenge and opportunity. Are they the same? Are they different? And how would you define them?
Oh, I think they're different.
Okay.
Well, and there are similar aspects, I would say. For example, like if you're at work and you're given an assignment, that's a challenge. Whether or not you look at it as an opportunity of growth is up to you. Maybe the task is actually not useful to growth at all. So it's a challenge, you know, you just have to do it. You just have to plow through it. Opportunities, you can find it yourself, I think. But also, like, again, with the perspective, if a challenge is given it to you, do you look at it as an opportunity for growth? I think that's how I would define the two.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, similar way I kind of see it, and I was agreeing with Evan about it. That, like, no matter how challenging it is, because I feel like it's almost that, you know, the self-talk that we have with ourselves, right? Like how we're gonna frame things in our minds, and you know, framing every challenge as an opportunity, I think, is just more beneficial, you know, for folks, because I think challenge has a little bit more of a negative connotation to it. But yeah. Definitely, I try to see everything as an opportunity, and but I also can see the challenge, and you know, that can jade me a little bit, right? And yeah, so I hear you. My next question for you is, what would you like to ask the next guest that comes on to 34 Questions?
Oh, it's tough. But what I want to ask,
you could go heavy, light, you know, serious, funny. It's all up to you.
What, if you had the opportunity, what is one other career you would choose instead of your current one?
Interesting. I got you. I know we didn't get to talk about it too much, but you know, you said you wanted to try out different careers, and is there one, like, maybe you're not qualified for, maybe you don't have the experience just yet, but yeah, is there one you jump into if you had the opportunity?
I think two of them was I would actually want to be a researcher, just to see what it's like to bring that experience into a classroom. If I ever, you know, if I were a researcher and become a teacher, I would have that experience. Because I've talked to some teachers who've done labs and research, and then they say it really helps with bringing that into the classroom, you know, the real life experience. But also, with no qualifications, I would want to try to be a lawyer, only to see what it's like.
Whoa, yeah.
Because, you know, but when you watch TV, you see the lawyers that look so cool, but of course in reality, it's not as enticing.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the law that you're working on, I guess.
True.
But yeah, no, I don't know if you ever served jury duty, but I served.
I'm not gonna jinx it. I'm gonna knock on wood. I haven't yet. I went in. I still haven't been called yet, but I'm knocking on wood.
Man, that's a story for another time. But yeah, I remember when I first started at Beacon at Burton, like the first 2 weeks I got called into jury duty, and bro, I fell asleep inside the little thing, right? Inside the court when they were choosing people, and I still got chosen.
Oh my goodness.
And they're like,
you did?
Yeah, I still got chosen. And I was on that case for like 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, but it was a crazy case. Like, so I could lead this on for a future video, but you know, it was a murder case. It was a homicide. And yeah, it was trippy, man. I was the dude, I was the foreman at the end, where like, you know, I stood up and was like,
you did the presentation.
Well, so that's what they show on TV. All I had to do was like give them a piece of paper to the bailiff, and then they gave it to the judge, and then the judge was like, the jury finds you this or whatever. But yeah, that was such a crazy experience. And the lawyers, they do their thing. I would say, you know, they're very persuasive, and they're trying to, but I've really felt bad. And I mean, it was a public defender, and like, you know, this guy didn't look like he really was trying to, you know, help his client. I don't know, but yeah, it was an interesting experience just to see the prosecution go super hard, all the facts, everything, and then the defense just kind of like, well, this is what we got, and this is how we're gonna try to spin it. But yeah, it was if you have the time and the interest, serve jury duty. I would recommend that for anybody. I watch a lot of SVU, so that's what kind of got me.
That was my thing back in high school. SVU. That was my thing.
Yeah, man. My mom is super into it, and I don't know if you know, but they brought what's his face back, Stabler, and like they're creating this whole thing.
Yeah, so I remember Detective Stabler. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like we know him, you know. But all right, I got that question for the next guest, and my last question for you, the question that ties everything together. 200, maybe 300 years from now, our descendants are watching this video. What would you like to tell them?
Keep watching this and listening to this podcast. But because you have so many different characters and people on here, that you get so many perspectives. I myself can't teach everything, so just listen to the other ones.
Sure, man. Yeah. Thank you for your kind words. I don't know if you ever read the book by Howard Zinn. I learned about this today because a teacher in my class was like presenting it to the kids, but it was like The People's History. And it's like a book called The People's History. I don't know if you ever heard of it. But he's just showing like the other sides that are not in the history books. So one of the things that was mentioned was like real history comes from real people. And it just really made me really think about like, these conversations and people like yourself and everyone else who has been on here. Is like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's part of what like I'm vibing with, and what I'm trying to put out there is that this is the history that's real. It's about individual folks and what they're going through, where they're at. But yeah, so thank you for just hitting that point home for all the folks out there in the future. Any last things you'd like to add before we head out of here?
No, man, I'm good. Just thank you for the opportunity. It's been really fun.
For sure, man. I want to thank you again for stopping by and making time and opening up and sharing your story. Definitely appreciate it. And I want to thank all the folks out there as well. If you're tuning in on Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're checking this out, appreciate your time as well. Remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love. And we'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace. And then this is my like extra credit scene type thing. But yeah, man, let me ask you, this is where I get my feedback from my guests. How did that feel? How do you feel after doing it? And anything you'd like to see improved on or added, let me know.
No, it was really good. Like you had really good follow-up questions. And then you really know how to dig a little deeper. Even on the simple questions, you're able to do that. But because, the discussions are so long, which is really nice. I thought we would actually really hit 34 questions.
that was my safeguard. That's why 34 was like a good number for myself. It's like if we spend 2 minutes on every question, then that would fill up an hour. But that's just like it. Luckily, no one's done that yet. Like, come on here and just give me short answers for everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, thank you. I really do try to like. I guess it's just my natural curiosity and me just trying to like, okay, well, you gave me that first answer, but I know there's like a lot more that different ways we can go about it sometimes. But yeah. But thank you again. And I will be in touch when all this comes out. Sure.